Have you ever wondered why, even though you earn a good living, save money, and do your best to do everything right financially, you still feel like you're always running around? Maybe you're paying your mortgage religiously, controlling your credit card spending, and even saving a portion of your income each month, but you feel like you're not building real wealth. This feeling is no accident. It was built by a system that depends on your distraction to keep running. In the United States, banks are among the most powerful and successful institutions in the country. They present themselves as partners, as advisors, as convenient platforms for managing your money. But in reality, what they do, quietly and extremely effectively, is take value from you every day. And the more you earn, the more they profit. Especially if you're a doctor, lawyer, dentist, engineer, architect, freelancer, or any other high-income professional, you're exactly the kind of client they love the most. Predictable, busy, and financially active enough to justify exclusive offers. While you're in the office seeing patients or writing contracts, the bank is using your money, your name, your trust, all for its own benefit. And you don't even realize it. The game is subtle. You get a premium card with a metallic name, lounge access, and rewards points. It seems like a good deal. But that same card has an annual fee of $695 and interest rates of up to 28% if you don't pay the bill in full. Banks call this a convenience. I call it a trap disguised as a luxury. You leave a cushion in a savings account for safety, but that account earns you 0.01% per year. Meanwhile, the bank uses that same money to lend to another customer for 19% per year on a credit card or student loan. The spread, or the difference between what you earn and what the bank earns on your own money, is the most profitable business in the American economy, and you're supporting it without even knowing it. Here comes the ironic part. If you sit down with your bank manager, he or she will offer you a supplementary retirement plan, perhaps a life insurance policy with cash value accumulation, or a long-term CD with a special rate. The speech sounds technical, structured, reliable, but almost always these products were designed for a single purpose: to generate predictable and recurring revenue for the bank, not necessarily to make your money grow intelligently. You won't hear this in the advertisements. The commercials show happy families, successful people, conferences with smiling consultants. But behind this institutional aesthetic, there is a business model that only works if you never ask the right questions. And when you finally begin to understand how it all works, the most common feeling is frustration. How could I, an intelligent, educated, professionally successful person, have fallen for this game for so long? The answer lies in the psychology of money. Independent professionals tend to be self-confident, focused on performance, and often put their energy into their technical areas: medicine, law, engineering, design, etc. But they have not been trained to understand the financial system. And that is exactly where banks come in. They position themselves as facilitators. They offer ready-made packages, easy platforms, and a series of automated solutions that seem to solve your problem. But the truth is that these solutions cost a lot. Expensive in fees, in lost opportunities, in profits that go to the institution instead of to you. While you are working hard to increase your income, the bank is working silently to keep you running in the same gear. Do you earn more? Great. They offer you a higher limit, more cards, more services, and more products with hidden fees. And so, even with a high income, many professionals do not build real wealth. They work their entire lives without achieving financial freedom because they believed, without realizing it, that the bank was the best place to trust their future. But here's the most important point of this conversation. You can break out of this cycle. There is a way to regain control of your money, protect your assets, and make every dollar you generate work for you, and not for the silent profit of a banking corporation. But this requires awareness. It requires breaking old habits and learning new strategies. It's not complicated, but it does require you to look at the system with a new perspective: critical, strategic, and results-oriented. In the next videos, or chapters, if you're following this series, I'm going to show you 5 secrets that American banks hide from freelance professionals like you. Secrets that aren't in the contract, that don't appear in the app, and that are carefully disguised as high-level service. When you learn about each of them, you'll realize that many things that seemed harmless were actually draining your money month after month, year after year. And at the end of this journey, the idea isn't for you to hate banks, but for you to finally understand how they work and use that to your advantage. Because financial freedom isn't about working harder. It's about stopping losing at the game you didn't even know you were playing. In the next part, we'll start with the first secret: how the money you're leaving in the bank is earning them much more than it is for you, and how changing that can increase your wealth by hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, without changing your lifestyle at all. See you there. You work hard, earn a good income, accumulate a good amount every month, and, naturally, want to keep some of that money available for emergencies or opportunities. So you leave it there, sitting there, in a checking account or traditional savings account. It seems prudent, it seems safe. But there is something that almost no one explains to you. This idle money is producing a huge profit. Just not for you. In practice, your bank takes every dollar that you leave parked in the account and turns it into credit for other customers. A loan, a credit card, a student loan. The bank makes a huge profit on these products, sometimes with interest. Rates that reach 15%, 20%, 25% per year. And how much does it pay you for the privilege of using your money for this? Sometimes 0.01%, literally a penny per year for every $100 idle. In the United States, this practice is perfectly legal and widely used. But what few people realize is that this is a wealth transfer game. You transfer your effort to the bank, and the bank turns it into profit for its shareholders. And if you ask them, they'll tell you it's normal, that it's how the system works. But that only works if you accept this logic without question. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine you keep $100,000 in a savings account at Chase, Bank of America, or Wells Fargo. With the average interest rate of 0.01% per year, you'll receive $10 at the end of 12 months. Yes, $10. Meanwhile, the bank can take that money, lend it out as a personal loan or credit card, and make more than $15,000 a year on it, depending on the fees involved. You're giving away the use of your capital, and on top of that, you're paying monthly fees to keep that account open. This isn't just inefficient. It's a systematic leakage of money, and the problem gets worse as your income increases. The more you earn and accumulate, the more money you have left there inert, serving the interests of third parties. And you know what else? This is intentional. The bank doesn't call you to suggest that you move that money to an account with a better return. They don't educate you about options with daily liquidity and market-compatible rates, because the less you know, the more they profit. They know that you are busy, that you trust the institution, and that you prefer not to complicate your financial life. That's why, if you don't take action, nothing will change. But what should you do then? We're not telling you to put everything into volatile stocks or crypto assets. The solution is not to take unnecessary risk. The key is to reposition your money strategically, with products that offer security, liquidity, and real income, instead of keeping everything in accounts that only benefit the bank. Today, in the U.S., there are high-yield savings accounts, often offered by digital banks or fintechs, that pay between 4% and 5% per year. Yes, with full liquidity, your money can be available on the same day, but yielding dozens of times more than in traditional accounts. And the difference between earning 0.01% and earning 5% per year is monumental, especially when we're talking about capital accumulated over the years. If you leave $100,000 in an account that yields 0.01%, in 10 years you will have practically the same $100,000. Now, if this same amount is invested at 5% per year, with compound interest, after a decade you will have accumulated more than $160,000. That is earning $60,000 more, without changing anything in your lifestyle, just by choosing where your money sleeps at night. That is why banks don't tell you this. Because if all their best customers made this simple change, their profits would plummet. The second option is to use American CDBs, which work in a similar way to CDs, certificates of deposit, with defined terms and predictable returns. They can also offer returns of between 4% and 5% per year, with FDIC protection in many cases. There are also American Treasury bonds, which are extremely safe, with returns that easily surpass traditional accounts. And of course, there is the possibility of using these funds as part of a diversified portfolio, which includes low-cost ETFs, real estate funds, or accounts managed by robo-advisors such as Wealthfront, Betterment, or Fidelity. These are solutions that allow you to keep your money earning interest with reasonable liquidity and legal security. The main point is, you don't have to accept the model that traditional banks offer you. You don't have to keep letting your assets sit idle, earning nothing. There is a universe of solutions designed exactly for people like you, professionals, freelancers, entrepreneurs, who have a good income, but don't have time to study the market in depth. The difference lies in taking the first step, getting out of inertia and choosing to position yourself strategically. This is the first big change you need to make. Move your money from the bank to where it works for you. And this alone can already represent hundreds of thousands of dollars more in your net worth over the next decade. In the next part, we'll explore secret number 2, how premium cards are designed to look good, but actually drain you of money with promises of status and illusory benefits, and why so many professionals end up trapped in a cycle of consumption where the bank always makes more. See you there. Have you ever received that fancy letter with a matte black envelope and your name embossed on it, saying you've been pre-approved for an exclusive card? Maybe you even felt a sense of pride, a sign that your hard work has been recognized by the system. And indeed it has. Just not in the way you might think. In the United States, premium credit cards, such as the Chase Sapphire Reserve, American Express Platinum, Capital One Venture X, and others, are marketed as status symbols. The marketing around them is carefully crafted to tap into a deep desire to feel part of an elite. You see ads featuring executives flying first class, expensive dinners paid for with a simple, elegant swipe of the card, access to VIP lounges, automatic hotel upgrades. It seems like with a card like that, you're not just buying things, you're buying a lifestyle. But what many don't realize is that behind this veneer of exclusivity lies a ruthless business model, one that makes billions in profits every year. And most of that profit comes from the very people who should be benefiting the most, you. Let's get to the real deal. Premium cards usually come with a hefty annual fee, $395, $550, $695, or even more, depending on the issuer. In exchange, the bank promises a series of benefits: cashback, miles, reward points, travel insurance, concierge, lounge access. But when you take a closer look, you'll find that many of those benefits are limited, difficult to access, or require intensive use to make sense. And that's on purpose. The business model for these cards is built on a simple premise. Most people don't use everything that's available. You can even access an airport lounge when you travel, if you travel frequently, at the right time and to the right terminal. You can get upgrades at hotels, if you book through the appropriate system with specific rates. You can accumulate points, but only if you use the card for everything, pay the bill in full, and then shop around to find the best possible deal. Most people, especially busy professionals, simply don't have the time or patience for this. In the meantime, the bank wins on 3 fronts. First, with the annual fee. Second, with the so-called interchange fee, the fee the merchant pays the bank every time you use the card. Third, and most lucrative, with the interest charged on the revolving balance. Even if you are disciplined and pay everything on time, the system is designed to profit from you on one of these fronts. And if you do happen to miss a payment or carry a balance, the interest can exceed 20% per year in a country with inflation below 3%. Now comes the ironic part. Many of these premium cards are marketed as exclusive to high earners, but they're not. Anyone with reasonable credit can be approved. The scarcity is artificial. What matters to the bank is not your status, it's your financial behavior. And the more you spend, the more you profit for them. That's what matters. The reality is that you're paying a lot to finance a lifestyle that benefits the bank. You're encouraged to consume more, travel more, accumulate more points. But in the end, the points depreciate, the benefits change, and the only thing guaranteed is the annual fee that you keep paying, year after year. And if you think you're being smart by using the card just to accumulate miles and pay everything on time, know this: you're in the minority. The overwhelming majority of users of these premium cards don't maximize the benefits, and the banks know this. They design their products with this statistic in mind. So what can you do? The first thing to understand is that a credit card is a tool, and like any tool, it must serve a clear purpose. If the annual fee you pay is not being directly offset by benefits that you actually use and not just want to use, then the card is costing you money for nothing. And worse, it is keeping you trapped in a cycle of consumption that can sabotage your financial freedom in the long run. Today, there are excellent alternatives on the American market. Cards with no annual fee, with direct cash back in dollars, without miles, without points, without complications. The Fidelity AR Rewards Visa, for example, gives 2% cash back directly to your investment account. The Citi RR Double Cash gives 2% back on everything. The Apple Card offers 3% on purchases with Apple, and up to 2% on many others, with no annual fee and full control through the app. These cards are simple, predictable, and effective, perfect for those who prefer to use the card as a tool, not as a symbol. The second step is to use the card strategically. If you are going to use a premium card, make sure that the benefits it offers are real, that you use them frequently, and that they represent greater savings than the cost. If this is not the case, change it. And most importantly, don't let the card dictate your spending patterns. Don't buy it because you will accumulate points. Buy it because it makes sense for you. And if you accumulate points, great. But let this be a bonus, not an excuse. You don't need to prove your success with a piece of black metal in your wallet. True success is invisible. It is having freedom, assets, and financial peace of mind. And no card can deliver that. You build that with awareness, strategy, and intentional choices. In the next episode, we will explore secret number 3, how lines of credit and financing offered especially for freelancers hide hidden fees, invisible costs, and unfavorable conditions that can erode your cash flow, and how to avoid them intelligently. Have you ever noticed how banks always have a solution ready when you need capital? Whether it's to open your clinic, renovate your office, buy expensive equipment, or invest in a new project, the offer arrives quickly. A pre-approved line of credit, special financing for professionals, a loan with exclusive conditions. The language used is always inviting. Reduced rate, grace period of up to 90 days, flexible installments. Everything seems tailor-made. But what almost no one tells you is that, behind this friendly appearance, there is a set of clauses, hidden fees, and silent costs that can cost you dearly, very dearly, over time. Let's talk about something that many professionals in the United States take out without fully understanding: small business loans aimed at freelancers and independent entrepreneurs. These are lines of credit offered by banks such as Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, almost always with some mention of support for professional growth. And in fact, they can be useful. But the problem is not the product itself. The problem is in the details. The first critical point is the difference between the nominal rate and the APR, the annual percentage rate. The bank may offer you a low rate, say 6.99%. But when you look at the contract, the APR is 9.8%. Why? Because the APR includes the hidden fees that are not shown in the advertising: administrative fees, mandatory insurance, origination fees, and even processing charges that, individually, seem small. But added together, they inflate the debt by thousands of dollars. And that's not counting insurance. Many bank loans come with protections that are automatically included in the contract, such as life insurance tied to the credit, temporary disability insurance, or even income loss insurance. At first glance, it seems prudent. But when you examine the actual cost, you realize that you are paying a lot for generic coverage, which often does not make sense for your profile, and which could be contracted separately for a much lower amount. Now, imagine that you took out a loan of $80,000 to expand your clinic. The advertised rate was 7% per year, but when you add up all the invisible fees, the real cost is closer to 11% per year. Over the course of 5 years, this can represent a difference of more than $15,000 in interest and charges, money that could have been reinvested or saved. Another critical point is contracts with automatic adjustment clauses. Many professionals sign contracts with variable interest rates, indexed to the prime rate, without realizing the impact that an increase in interest rates can have. And since the American market goes through cycles of highs and lows, a financing that seemed comfortable today can become suffocating 2 years from now, and the bank will not call you to let you know. In addition, there is the issue of cross-selling. When taking out a line of credit, it is common for the bank manager to suggest that you open a business account, get a corporate card, or sign up for a service package. In some cases, this is an implicit condition for the release of credit. You start with a loan, and before you know it, you are paying monthly fees for services you never use. And the most worrying thing, many professionals do not read the entire contract. Trusting the manager, who seems to be on their side, they end up signing agreements without knowing the risks. This happens because the professional is focused on their business, the patient, the client, the delivery. They do not have time, and the banks know this. They count on it. But there is an alternative, and it starts with a simple principle. No loan is neutral. Every penny you borrow needs to work in your favor in a clear and strategic way. If the financing does not generate more return than the total cost of the money, it is a liability disguised as a solution. Today, in the United States, there are more transparent and intelligent credit options for independent professionals. Fintechs such as SoFi, Fundbox, Bluevine, Lendio, and even local credit unions offer loans with simple structures, fixed rates, and contracts that are easier to understand. Many of them display the real APR on the first page, with clear simulators and real comparisons. Another alternative is the use of secured credit lines such as HELOC, Home Equity Line of Credit, which allows access to capital with low interest rates using your home as collateral, as long as this is done with planning and responsibility. And don't forget a fundamental rule. Before taking out any credit, simulate the total cost and compare it with alternatives. For example, you can divide the investment amount into stages, reduce the scope of the initial project, or even seek strategic partnerships before resorting to traditional financing. Credit is not your enemy. But poorly structured, poorly understood, and poorly used credit is one of the biggest silent thieves of wealth that exists. In the next part, we will explore secret number 4, how the bank uses your financial profile to offer you products that are highly profitable for them, but ineffective or harmful for you. We will understand the real role of the bank manager and why blindly trusting him or her may be costing you much more than you imagine.